Aloha, welcome to the Live Ukulele podcast. My name is Brad Bordessa, and today I'm sharing a conversation with Vince Esquire from Maui and from the band Kanekoa. More about that in a bit, but suffice to say, Vince is the most interesting and exciting ukulele player I've run across in a long time. So I definitely had to look him up and see if I could get him on the podcast to share with you folks. Before we do that, though, the Live Ukulele podcast is 100% user supported. So if you like what you hear, go to liveukulele.com/support and check out the number of different ways you can put some weight behind what I'm doing here with the podcast and with liveukulele.com, which has been getting some updates lately. I just redid my page on ukulele straps. I'm working on finishing off my strumming guide. And I just uploaded a video on how to find the beat of a song. If you're really struggling with getting timing down, I wanted to have that resource because I'm working on finishing up my rework of Groove Ukulele, which is my strumming course, bringing that to a web-based format. And, you know, there's so much garbage on the internet these days that you get like 75 or 80% of what you need, like to teach something. Like, oh, I'm teaching this thing and here's this other sort of related component. I want to embed a video or link to a web page that can help people understand the rest of it. It's like that last 20% or is just, it's so meh. It's so meh. And a lot of it's super long-winded. It's like, just get to the point already, teach the subject, and we can move on and, you know, bring people back to the main subject. So anyways, I made that video to fill that void because I couldn't find anything that I liked. It has some fun examples, and you can find all of those resources on the Live Ukulele homepage if you look for the recent updates section. I also have a couple of lesson slots available if you're looking for some personalized feedback on your playing, or you've got some questions you want answered, or you need a practice plan, or you've got a goal but don't know how to get there, all that kind of stuff. You can reach out brad@liveukulele.com. We can talk story and see what we could get up to with some lessons on Zoom for you. All right, so I'm pushing this episode out a little bit early ahead of schedule because it turns out that this just kind of coincides with Kanekoa and their mainland tour that's coming up. So as you're hearing this, first week of June, they are kicking off their tour. And so Vince Esquire is an amazing ukulele player from the island of Maui. He plays very original, very exciting playing because it's different. You don't hear ukulele played in that way very often. And, you know, he's an amazing player, can shred when he wants to, but also has the taste to lay back and not play in the moments that is important. And his band, Kanekoa, is an ukulele band. There's him on lead ukulele, and then rhythm ukulele and U-bass, along with Cajon sometimes. I don't think Cajon is traveling with them in the mainland. But they're doing some workshops, they're playing some shows. Reno, Nevada on June 4th, Roseville, California, June 5th, Grass Valley, California, June 6th, Santa Cruz, California, June 7th. I expect Uncle George will make an appearance there. June 8th, Davis, California. June 10th, Arcata, California. Arcata. June 14th, there's a gap between going up to Washington and Olympia. And then 15th and 16th is going to be Tacoma, Washington with Uncle Alika. And then Seattle at the Tiki Bar House. So if you're on the West Coast, and you can check them out, great ukulele band with some amazing players. And they're also doing workshops, so you can kind of learn some of the tricks and some of the insight behind the music. You can learn more about the tour by going to kanekoasounds.com. Kanekoa sounds.com. So wanted to push the podcast out a little bit early to hopefully help them get some traction behind their tour. Check them out, see if there are slots available, and go get yourself some Kanekoa ukulele music. All right, and then finally, before we get cooking on the conversation, Vince just dropped his newest album, which is called Funkulele. And it's really well done. It's really interesting. And it's probably the best ukulele music I've heard in a decade, maybe? I don't know. I don't really keep track of ukulele music because usually it's sort of a snooze. It's like, yeah, same. Like, you know, of course there's great playing and great songs and things like that. But like just the thing itself, it doesn't really do much for me at this point just because it's kind of been done, a lot of it. But Funkulele is really original because it's basically a funk album. You listen to it and it doesn't sound like, oh, well, here's some ukulele playing funk songs. It sounds like, well, here is Tower of Power, who actually, I believe, played on the album and played many of the parts that you hear. It sounds like funk music, and then the ukulele is just integrated. But like the arrangement of the parts, super interesting, super fun. It sounds great. It's exciting to listen to. And it's on Apple and Spotify. So go check it out. It's not on Bandcamp yet. Waiting for the Bandcamp fans. Come on. But it's called Funkulele by Vince Esquire. And I believe he has a low G album coming out later in the year. The dude is super busy. He kind of does everything and is a super hustler. So without any further ado, I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Vince Esquire. So I feel totally dumb. Like I went to school at UHMC for like a year and a half at Uncle George's Institute of Hawaiian Music. And somehow you totally flew under the radar while we were there. And I feel like we should have crossed paths or we would have been super excited to come see your band, Kanekoa.
Right on. Oh, yeah. Uncle George, we just saw him we were in Santa Cruz playing at Pono. And he came to see our show the last time we were there a couple months back. So he's always a good time, good hang.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So you have this epic band that's been around 30 years now, right?
Yeah, it'll be 30 years next year. Yeah, 2027. Yeah. Okay. 97 we started, so.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been a long road.
Yeah, and so the band that you have, Kanekoa, it's predominantly ukulele. How did you get to the idea? Because you also play guitar, is my impression from your solo projects.
Yeah.
How did you decide that ukulele was the thing to do for this band for 30 straight years? Just an ukulele band.
As we do growing up in Hawaii, I started playing ukulele in school. And so I just kind of stuck with it. It's kind of like on the mainland, you have the recorder, in school people learn how to play the thing. It's kind of the same here, but we get ukuleles instead. And some people stick with it and some people don't. And so I just kind of stuck with it. And then I was playing with some youth groups here on the island, 10, 11 years old, just little things. Actually, it was Uncle George's son, Kyoki Kamuku. It was his youth ukulele group I was in when I was just a kid. So started with that and played in a couple little groups. And then I met the Kanekoa guys at an open mic night that I would go to at a coffee shop here. And I met the guys there and just decided to jam at an open mic, and the rest was kind of history. So they're 10 years older than I was, or that I am. So yeah, we just kind of started jamming at an open mic, and that's how it kind of was going from there. And then subsequently, not long after, I started playing guitar. So, and
what was your process coming up? I mean, you had access to the kahumokus, it sounds like, but like as a kid jamming the ukulele, like what was your thing? What got you excited and involved?
I think for me, it was definitely Troy Fernandez from the Concreter Boys. I was probably like 10, 11 years old. I heard the solo for Brown Eyed Girl, and I was like, oh, that's how did he do that? So that was kind of, and then I had a couple of friends in school that were actually pretty gifted players already at that time. So I was kind of just watching them, but it was definitely Troy. And then subsequently went back and found the, Peter Moon and Otasan and Lau Ritz and all those guys. So that was my gateway. My gateway was Troy Fernandez for the ukulele for sure.
And so how long were you playing like that more Hawaiian style ukulele stuff before you went a little more exploratory?
Pretty pretty much traditional stuff right away. I did a couple of little gigs with Richard Holt PE over here and the Holt PE brothers when I was a kid, and I did some gigs with Raiatea Helm playing ukulele for her when I was younger, and so I definitely had roots in traditional Hawaiian music from the get go, and then it just kind of with the guitar came, and then the guys in Kanekoa, they introduced me to the Dead and that music and the jam world, and so it was just kind of melding the traditional technical aspects with more freeform based music.
And so how does a young ukulele player end up with a gig for Uncle Richard or Raiatea?
Just networking and playing, and I had gotten paired to play with Uncle Richard at it was like charity walk event, like just community events, So I would be there, and Uncle George, or a couple of times it was Uncle George or Uncle Richard. They'd be just say, "Hey, grab your ukulele, come jam." So we'd just jam, kind of like how we do here, and that's kind of where I got my roots.
And what is your approach when you go into a gig like that? Because I saw that clip that you posted on Facebook where you're shredding like crazy, really cool stuff, but very different from what you might expect to play with those uncle types. Like, what, as an ukulele player, like how do you fit yourself into those two different worlds?
Well, it's just kind of going back to the roots. It's just understanding. I definitely have the understanding of the Hawaiian music and just the technical. It's it's a lot of 2-5-1 changes, very similar to jazz standards. It's kind of the same thing. So I have the understanding of the technical side of it, of traditional Hawaiian music. I play a lot with Eric Gilliam and his sister Amy Hanaili. I've played with her quite a few times, and so it's just having roots and understanding of the technical side of that music. So I can always go back to that if I need to, dig back into that bag, as we say.
Nice. And so, as far as the roots thing goes, plenty of people like strive to play Hawaiian style ukulele, but they totally miss the mark and they just can't get the sound. To you, what is the sound? Where does it come from? What is the thing that makes Hawaiian ukulele sound Hawaiian?
It's a lot of it, I think, is just being immersed in, I grew up here since I was 4 years old. My parents moved here in 89 when I was just a baby. I don't really remember anything before being in Hawaii. So I think it's the water, it's the dirt, it's the air. It's just being immersed and learning the way we learn just from being around other people and doing the Kanekoa jam kind of thing, and just observing and being absorbed in the environment. I think that's a big part of it. It's just I grew up with it. It was all around. So, and my dad played, my dad was a musician on the island when I was a kid. So, Uncle Willie K, Uncle Don Lopez, who's in Kanekoa, was Willie K's bass player for 30 years. So when I was a kid, I grew up with Uncle Willie K and all of his music. So I think it's just being immersed and being from the environment and where it's from. And being adopted into the Hawaiian culture. I have a Hawaiian family with the Kanekoas, and so I think it's just a big part of it. Just being out here. The more you can be in Hawaii, the more you'll absorb the music and the culture, which is hand in hand.
So have you done much like traditional study, or has it all been kind of like backyard style, just crash and burn?
As far as like the technical stuff,
yeah, just learning the mechanics.
Mine was more just from being around, the masters and just watching and observing and just kind of picking it up. And, I think that was just the big part of it, was just being able to just sit and watch. Not even really ask questions a lot, but just kind of watch how they did it and picked it up. But now in hindsight, actually, I kind of want to go back and learn more of the technical side of it and be able to know more about what it is that I do and not just do it, but actually have the wherewithal of the how and the what and the why behind it. Always striving for more in that.
And how do you envision that? Would be like going back to college kind of thing?
Yeah, maybe taking some. I'm never opposed to gaining more information, so it could be going back to school, and just learning more of the theory behind it all.
That's so interesting, because I went and saw Raiatea last month or the month before, and she was talking about having gone back to college and how, as a Hawaiian style ear player, learning all that technical stuff later on is so difficult. And then, like, for myself, I teach at Uncle George's workshop now, and so many of those folks come in only knowing how to play off a tab or be shown very explicitly like how to do something, and like you put them in a Kanekoa, they have no clue. So they experience it from the other side, but then going the other way, I am genuinely curious, like which way is harder, which one is more beneficial to start with. Like, seems like there's good and bad about both. But
yeah, it's actually interesting. When I started playing guitar at 16, 15, I went to, in Berkeley, California, there's a music school called the Jazz School. And so I went and I took a summer's worth of kind of beginner jazz improv theory, blues, jazz, guitar theory, improv 101 kind of a class, And the majority of the class, they were, at the time I was 15, so everybody was at least twice as old as I was. And everybody in there was very educated as far as being able to sight read and play exactly what the sheet instructed, but at the same time had no wherewithal of being able to, in a jam setting, be able to improvise. Whereas I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do was learn how to improvise. And so I'm sitting in a room full of people that were very educated. So I think that was a cool thing that we kind of learned from each other, even with the age gap, was that I was just kind of wanting to experiment and play. But I understand that you have to have at least enough to bridge the two, So that's kind of where I kind of try to live, is in that middle of the bridge area. And I learned a lot from that.
And so how have you found being more in like the blues style world of music? Because like there's not so many blues jams out here where you can go learn that style firsthand. How did you kind of pick that up as opposed to being like, playing Hawaiian music at a Kanekoa?
When I was 15, I saw a VH1 biography of Stevie Ray Vaughan. And at that point, I was like, that's the next step in my progression. I need to learn how to do what that guy does. So that was it for me. As soon as I saw that, I got my first Stratocaster. And I was lucky because my dad was so tied into the music scene from gigging himself at that time. I was able to gain a couple of local mentors here on the island that would allow me to go and get on stage and actually perform and play and make mistakes and not really know what I was doing, but put me in front of people. So I had the opportunity at a young age to be able to go and perform and do that kind of stuff. And so it was a lot of dedicated practice. And again, Stevie Ray Vaughan was kind of my gateway in the blues to go back and study his influences. So I got heavy into B.B. King. I got heavy into Albert King, Albert Collins. Went back even further to Muddy Waters, Robert Johnson, Lightning Hopkins. I went back to like the 20s as far as blues music to really study deep. Kind of like a lot of people would study Hawaiian music. You study contemporary, and then you go back, all the way back to the traditional. I did the same thing with blues. I got real deep into the history and learning all the styles, the Texas style, the Chicago style, the Delta style. They're all different. Kind of like Hawaiian music, every island or community had its own kind of thing. The same in the blues. So I really dove deep into all those styles and really learned on the guitar. I was deep into the guitar. I always played ukulele alongside guitar, but I had a big chunk where I was just doing a lot of guitar. And so I got deep, heavy into it. And I was just dedicated practice from 15. And then I started gigging professionally with my own band. probably 8 months after I started playing guitar, I put a band together and I was doing gigs immediately. So between the practice constantly and the gigs and the deep studying, I think that's kind of where I pulled the blues influence from.
And so I assume that you mostly learned that on guitar. How did that trickle down into your ukulele playing?
A lot of the finger positions and patterns and stuff are the same. You just got to transpose the key, right? So the same shapes work on the ukulele. You just got to know what key they're in. So I just kind of started going, oh, okay, I can incorporate this Troy Fernandez run with this B.B. King lick that goes into this Stevie Ray Vaughan thing into a distortion pedal, so it sounds like Jimi Hendrix, or or a lot of people say Eric Johnson is another one that they're like, you have that Eric Johnson sound on your ukulele, and I'm like, Eric Johnson was a big influence, so I really kind of looking for that. So it's just taking all my influences and kind of just going, oh, okay, I can combine this with this, and it kind of works. And it's kind of how I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
That's awesome. So what is your approach to the tone thing? Because Eric Johnson is all about, having that tone that just like straight music, nothing in between.
It's like they say it's like that singing violin kind of sound when he has his lead sound. So I tried all kinds of overdrive pedals for ukulele. I went through every guitar distortion pedal you could find, and all of them just had that really harsh, like, tinny, didn't really make it sounded just really not good in your ears. And then I finally found that Fender made an overdrive specifically for acoustic instruments called the Smolder.
Really?
It's got an EQ, it's got a compressor, it's got a blend, and that's what I use now, and it's perfect for the ukulele to keep it kind of warm. It doesn't get brittle sounding. So that's what I use.
I've seen that around and always wondered about it. Like, oh, acoustic overdrive, what is that about?
Yeah,
but
it's for acoustic guitars, but it works great.
You're the first person I've met who actually uses one. I'll have to check that out. So with the distortion on the ukulele, what is your impression of, like, people's perception of that? That's not what you expect when you hear the ukulele, for the most part, unless you're like a Jake fan.
Right.
But like the average tourist who shows up and hears that.
I think, yeah, it's definitely different. My goal is, over the last at least 5 or 6 years, is to kind of create my own identifiable kind of sound. So I think that's kind of becoming my identifiable thing, my identity. So I think when people hear it, it's interesting for them because they can relate to it as, oh, that sounds like a guitar. You know what I mean? Oh, it sounds like a guitar. So it's not an ukulele. I don't, nobody, I can't remember if most people like, I can't remember, or I've never seen that before. I can't remember the last time, or I've never seen it. So I think that's how people relate to it. Is it's familiar. You know what I mean? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is it's familiar in that way. But I do hope that that is what becomes my identity in my playing, is that kind of thing, that kind of sound.
And so I guess that begs the question of, you've been in this band for almost 30 years. Obviously you still see a lot of room for finding your artistry and stuff. Like, what does that look like moving forward as an already established musician? How do you keep pushing to find the next level and stay inspired? Because you guys have released tons of music. Like, I was looking through your Bandcamp. It's like many albums. Yeah.
And there's more coming out, fairly soon. So it's just keeps going. I think for me, it's just, it's exploring. When I play now, I don't think about the technical part of it. I think about finding new pathways from A to B, or finding new pathways that go from A and completely bypass B and go to C or D or E, and just finding new creative, expressive ideas at this point, or concepts. Because I think that should be the ultimate goal for musicians. Is they should, I mean, you really have to put in your 10,000 hours on the technical side of it, but the reward in that is being able to not have to think anymore and express exactly how you're feeling at any given time. So I think the goal should be 100% to express ourselves honestly 100% of the time as musicians. So that's what keeps me motivated now, playing every gig, tours, everything that comes in that. The reward is self-expression. So I think that's what keeps me motivated now.
And how often of the time do you feel like you get there all the way? Like, I know, like, I'm pretty comfy on the fretboard. I can play most of the things I want to play, but there's still that moment where you like break through an extra layer and it's just like, this is just so easy. Like, it's just happening by itself. How often are you getting there?
Oh man, it's an interesting question because I'm pretty self-critical. At least to myself per show, but I'd say out of every 3 or 4 shows I get there.
Nice.
Breakthrough and something new happens. And again, I don't look at mistakes as mistakes. If I try to reach for something that I hear in my head and I fall flat on my face, no big deal. Because it's moment to moment. The next moment's already there. You can't think, or you're a step behind. And especially in the band that we have, you can't. It's like there's no thought because the next moment's already passing. So if I fall on my face, I'm already back up and doing another somersault in the air, not really worrying about the last one. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Did you earlier on, like now it's built in, it's automatic, but earlier on, what was your approach for getting through mistakes? Because like a lot of my listeners will feel like they get really hung up on that, like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake, got to stop and start over or whatever. And like you said, like the song's over already. Like
right.
you can't even, there's no time to even consider it a mistake. How did you learn that lesson where it was like, just got to keep going? And what are your tricks for recovering?
Well, it is a few lessons that I learned. My dad always told me that no matter what happens, never stop playing. No matter what. Anything could be going on, just don't stop. That was the first one. The second one was just, it's just, there's a famous Victor Wooten quote that he says, you're never more than a half step away from a right note. And I think that's a very valuable lesson. There's the old anecdote, musicians tell jokes to each other. Oh yeah, just repeat the same mistake. It sounds like jazz. There's a lot of truth in that, right? There's really it's music. And we got to remember that it's music and it's meant to have mistakes. It's meant to be creative. It's art, so we got to embrace the mistake. I think it's a very important lesson, especially as we get more confident in ourselves and our ability and our playing. It gets less and less, but I think for the beginners, just remember it's supposed to be fun. So if you make a mistake, it's not a big deal. Just move forward, keep playing. You're gonna learn more from that one mistake than you will have if you hadn't made the mistake. So I think embrace the mistakes. It's a valuable lesson.
Nice. So what are you doing currently besides Kanekoa? I mean, as far as I could tell, looking you up and seeing what you do, like, you kind of do everything. What doesn't Vince do?
I got it, man. Hawaii's expensive, man. I got to hustle, So I've got my feet in all kinds of stuff. But basically, outside of Kanekoa, I do all the album production for that stuff, all the mixing and mastering for that project. So we got a couple things coming this year for that, and I have a couple of solo projects I'm working on. One that I'm releasing in May. I've been working on for the past 3 years. It's a funk ukulele album. So it's like I did some tracks with Tower of Power, and I got to work with a bunch of legendary musicians that worked with Prince, and really just kind of pushing the ukulele into kind of this new rhythm section instrument in the modern funk world. So that's kind of the project that I have coming out in May. And then I'm kind of shooting for a September release for an instrumental kind of funk fusion, smooth jazz kind of project. So I have that I'm working on tracking right now and getting all the stuff done for that, getting all the horn section stuff done for that. And so I'm keeping busy trying to do my own stuff as well as the I also, me and my partner Demi, we do all the management for Kanekoa, all the booking, all the merch stuff, all the tour accommodation booking and all that stuff. So we keep busy on top of gigging. You know, I play 3 nights a week here on Maui. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Well, you're never bored with that kind of a plate full.
It's not work, man. You know,
That's true.
It's all fun stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Just happen to make a living doing it. So
what is your approach for, because, you know, I play in groups here and there, and it only happens if you do it yourself. So, like, what is your approach for the management side? Like, how do you find the joy in that as opposed to like, oh, God, I got to schedule another social media post?
Oh, man, it's hard. I use a lot of Chat GPT to help me find information. You know, like we're about to leave in June on a 2-week seminar tour that goes from Reno through Northern Cali, through Oregon, through Washington for 2 weeks, where we go and teach classes. So, you know, I use ChatGPT to help me organize the cities, help me find contacts to the ukulele clubs in all those cities, and then that helps me to reach out to all those. Just helps me keep everything organized, you know. Basically, that's what I use it for. Find info, keep organized. And because it's not, you know, it's a lot easier to do that kind of stuff these days. It doesn't take nearly as long. It's not so much work. You know, it's a few hours a day I sit and kind of dedicate to answering emails and stuff. And it's just, I think to look at it as every little step we do in the management side of keeping everything going is progressing the band one step further every day. Even if it's a little step further, a little step further. And then it just helps the band, you know, in the long run. So I don't, you know, the band's family at this point, so I don't even really mind. We don't mind doing it. You know, it's just helps keep us going. Just got to find the joy in that. Find the joy in just helping your band to keep going, because that's what it's all about, especially at 30 years, you know.
So what is the next level for a band like that? Like it's an ukulele band, so like as a thing, like it's a little bit niche. Are you guys trying to like break out, or are you just trying to grow your contacts like in the ukulele community?
I mean, I think since the beginning, we've always been kind of trying to break out. That's kind of just how we found our kind of thing. We've always been against the grain with the instrument. So I think now we're kind of just starting on the West Coast and building our pretty good following there. And the plan is to just kind of like spiral east, you know, go through the Midwest and start getting into, you know, Colorado and Idaho, and then just start moving. We've done a few things on the East Coast and here and there, but I think we really just want to try and keep just bending the boundaries of what we can do with this thing. And we're constantly doing that, finding interesting covers. You know, we're known kind of for doing the Dead thing, so we do a lot of Dead stuff and Floyd stuff, and so it's just constantly pushing boundaries. I think that's what just keeps us interested. You know, there's plenty of times I think we could have given up and just said, hey, do something else. But it's just the constant interest of pushing the boundaries is what keeps us all interested in building this thing. So I think that's the next step, is we just with this band, it's consistency. And I keep telling the guys, as long as we're consistent, keep going and doing our thing, hammering on the West Coast, Seattle, all the way down, you know, I think we'll just keep building our thing. And every time we go, we get better and better responses and more people. So consistent is the key.
Nice. And you see steady growth as you're doing that?
Steady growth. Yeah. Every time. Because it's, you know, it's expensive to tour from Hawaii, you know, so if I don't think if there was consistent growth, it would be viable for us to go do it as regularly as we do. So I think we're seeing more and more, and it's making it more and more possible for us to go do it, which is the ultimate goal.
That's awesome. Yeah, good for you guys. Definitely an uphill battle.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But people, it's the other great thing about the ukulele, man, is it's growing so much. Like, I'm amazed that in every city that we've approached about doing a seminar or workshop there, the ukulele groups, first of all, there's an ukulele group in almost all of them. Every city that I went to. And not only that, but every single group is run or is managed by very cool people who are very responsive to what we want to try to offer and teach, So it's been actually a very pleasant experience working with all these groups and people. It's made it easy.
Nice. And what kind of things are you teaching? Like, if this is a kind of more of a workshop tour than like a show tour,
mm-hmm.
what are the concepts that you guys are passionate about sharing?
I think we really try to dive deep into more of an improvisational mindset, and we also kind of dive into how to really listen to each other as you play in a group. That's kind of a main focus. I personally believe that's something people should work on from the very beginning, especially if you're playing with other people, is really tuning in and listening to what each person is doing and finding your role within what's going on. So we kind of talk about that, and we talk about how we approach it, how, like, if Kaulana's doing something rhythmically at a certain area on the neck and a certain inversion of a chord, how I'm going to play a different inversion at it and maybe not play as many strings, and just kind of how we approach fitting all the little pieces together when you play in a group. So that's kind of in an improvisational way. So that's kind of our focus. It's, a lot of people take, chord charts for a song, or they do the projector thing. But we never really learned that way. We kind of just learned playing with each other and really listening. So that's what we kind of try to teach people, the concept of playing together in a group. That's our focus.
You have a lot of patience playing for 30 years with another ukulele player is what I think.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Staying out of each other's way.
It is. It's a lot of work, but we've kind of found our little pocket within each other's style, so.
That's super cool. Yeah, because like a guitar band, like somebody can be chugging, somebody can be up high, but like ukulele, it's so focused down the middle that, like, when I was in school, we'd go and play, random shows, and they'd be like, "Oh, today there's 4 ukulele players." It's like, oh no.
So, exactly. So how do you find your role in those 4 people? Maybe you've never met these people before, right? There's 4 players. Okay, well, how do I find my space to not, to make it musical but not crowd everything? And this is kind of I kind of took this schooling from the way Prince would do things. I mean, you got to think of it. If you're in a band that's got 8 people, right? Let's say you're in a band that's got 2 keyboard players, 2 guitar players, a bass player. You're in a lot of times you're not going to be playing full chords because you got a keyboard player that's got 10 fingers that can play a much larger chord than you can play on a guitar or an ukulele. So maybe you're going to play a double stop chord that's only got 2 notes, and you find an interesting rhythm thing that fits within the entire band, but it's not so technical here that it's stepping on everything else. And Prince would do that a lot. He would assign one guitar player, if he had a backup guitar player, which he always did, he'd be like, you play these 2 strings in this rhythm, and that's it, and that would be part of it. So it's how do you find and orchestrate your part within the group to keep it interesting, but not overtake everything. So I think that's it's a big lesson.
Yeah, and it's hard to develop that when you're, like, for most people who are out and about in the ukulele community strumming with 30 people in a group.
Mm-hmm.
It's full chords across the room. How do you begin to break out of that? It's like, I'm not doing it right. I'm missing something that everybody else is doing, or
right.
Kind of tricky to develop.
It's tricky.
That.
It's tricky, and it takes practice. I mean, just like anything, it just takes a lot of work. You got to work at it, and really it's just repetitive. So I'm very, very happy when I see these groups and they meet weekly and everybody's kind of learning and getting better together. This old saying, and iron sharpens iron. So I think just, over time, these things kind of, you figure it out,
Nice. Well, you have, it seems like great hookups across kind of the whole music industry, or at least as the industry overlaps in Hawaii. Could you share a couple of fun stories with some of our favorite folks that we recognize the names of, but maybe don't have an ukulele connection to, and you can be that gateway?
Oh man, that's a good question. Wow.
Because you've
Man,
overlapped with some big
you caught me
names.
off with that one, man. I never got that one before. That's a good one. Man, yeah, I've a lot of the stuff that I did with in the guitar world. I opened for Aerosmith here on Maui when I was 21 or 22 with my guitar band, and I did some touring and recording with Greg Allman from the Allman Brothers. He was a really dear friend of mine, a really amazing mentor. I did some work with the Allman Brothers in New York. Toured with Derek Trucks and his band when I was 18, and opening for them on around the islands and all kinds of bands, man. Little Feat. In that world, I worked with a lot of people and was blessed to spend time with a lot of great people and taught me a lot of things, and a lot of that I carried over onto the ukulele. A lot of that stuff. So, the ukulele world, I'm just kind of now kind of crossing paths with the bigger names in the ukulele. Like the Tower of Power thing was kind of cool, and Jake's a good friend, and known him a long time. And Andrew Molina is my good buddy. Love that guy, man. Him and I do jiu-jitsu together too, so we've got that, and I love that guy and I love his playing. Yeah, I'm just fortunate to have gotten to spend some time with some cool people. Yeah.
And what did you pick up like on the road with these guys? Like, are there any takeaways that really stuck out? That was like oh, like that's a pro thing, or
Yeah, I think that's actually a lot of what I took away, especially the tour that I did with Greg Allman. Like, that guy was he was just an encyclopedia of road stories, So, and what more so with him, and he was a big advocate, especially with me because I was so young at the time, about things not to do, things to not get wrapped up in, and stay away from the drug world, and this if I would have done things differently, I would have done this and this, and so I think that was a big part of it, and just pro touring. You're on a schedule, you got to be places at a certain time, professionalism. Your set is a certain time. If you got a 35-minute set, that doesn't mean you get 36 minutes. You got 35 minutes and you got to be done on your mark, So you just kind of learn professional things that you do, and just everybody that I worked with was really nice. I never really worked with anybody that was not cool. So I've always kind of tried to pay that forward to anybody that I work with. Just, it's easier to be nice to somebody and everything works out smoothly. So I think it's just professionalism like that. More so than anything on the technical side, it was just how to be a pro. I learned on those runs in my early 20s.
that's killer insight. You can't, yeah, it's priceless.
Yeah.
So if folks are coming to Maui, where can they check you out and see some awesome ukulele playing?
Oh man. So when we're not on the road, Kalana and Don from Kanekoa, the three of us, we do our ukulele trio, or we do it at Nalu's South Shore Grill in Kihei. We're there every Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. And then I do a show at the Maui Ocean Center in the Sphere. We kind of have like a three-dimensional kind of sphere, mini Vegas kind of sphere over here. And I do a show there with Eric Gilliam every Tuesday. It's called Mele, the Hawaiian Music Experience. It's kind of a historical run of music in Hawaii, from like the big band era all the way through, Cow Critter Boys. And we just kind of take the audience on a visual experience. There's a bunch of great visuals that go on while we play, and hula dancers. And so that's a cool experience. That's every Tuesday at the Maui Ocean Center. And then seasonally, like today, I have a show at the Maui Sunset. It's a condominium on South Kihei Road over in Kihei. Beautiful courtyard outside. We play from 4 to 5:30 right before sunset. I'm there with Eric Gilliam. And so that's what I do 3 times a week. If I'm not picking up other things, that's where you can catch us at.
Nice. And then tell us a little bit about the tour, because I think this episode should go up like right before you guys are heading out. So maybe some
perfect.
people can jump
We
in
leave,
and catch you.
let's see. We leave on June 3rd. And so the first stop is June 4th. We will be at the Mountain Music Parlor in Reno, Nevada, doing a little workshop seminar over there. And then we're going to be out for a couple weeks. So June 5th, we're at the Strum Shop in Roseville, which is right outside Sacramento. June 6th, we're in Grass Valley. June 7th, we're in Santa Cruz at Pono's. June 8th, we're at the Music Lab in Davis, which is also outside Sacramento. Then the 10th, we're in Arcata. 12th, we're in Bend, Oregon. 14th, we're in Olympia, Washington. 15th, we're in Tacoma, Washington. And 16th, we're in Seattle. And so you can find all these dates on our website. It's kanekoasounds.com. You can just go there into our tour section, and all the dates and ticket links and everything is there. So it's kind of a long run, but it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, that'll be super cool. So workshop and a little bit of a show included?
Yeah, we do like an hour workshop, and then we do like a 45-minute little like trio performance like we do at Nalu's every Sunday. And then we do like a Q&A kind of a thing. And yeah, so that's kind of the experience.
Cool. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
When you
it's
come into
like
Big
our
Island.
First real one. I know we need to come back to the Big Island. We did, it's been years, but we played at the Palace Theater in Hilo. Man,
Nice.
that place is nice. I want to play there.
Beautiful.
We opened for Los Lobos there probably, I don't know how many years ago now, but
That must have been a while back. I don't even remember that.
it was a while back. Yeah, it was a good show. That's where I want to get us back in soon, for sure.
Nice.
If you know anybody there, hook me up because I want to get us back in there.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Vince.
Dude, this is awesome, man. Anytime. Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Anytime. Just hit me up. Always down to chat. Very good.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for your time, and this is great. I'm glad to have made the connection. I'm sorry it took so long, but
Here we are,
here we are.
Better late than never. It all worked out.
Yeah. All right, mahalo to Vince for his time and insight. Be sure to check out the Kanekoa tour. If you're on the West Coast, you can go to kanekoasounds.com. That's Kanekoa sounds.com. And be sure to check out the Funkulele album. It's really cool stuff. I think anybody with any kind of musical sensibilities is really going to enjoy it. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. That's all I can say. Go check it out. I don't know if I've ever recommended an album on the podcast besides iconic traditional stuff. But a new album that's fun to listen to. Go get it. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Brad Bordessa. The Live Ukulele podcast is published on the first Saturday of every month, even though we pushed it up a little bit this month to share Vince's tour. If you like what you hear, go to liveukulele.com/support. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you subscribe to podcasts, and I will catch you in the next episode. Until then, be well out there. Peace. Ahui ho.